Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. New week means new theme. This week's theme is black metal's origins. I'm pretty intrigued by this. We're going to be looking at how black metal started with some of the early black metal bands from the mid to late 80s. And it seems very appropriate. We're going to start off with a song called Black Metal by the band Venom. And if I've been informed correctly, this is actually where the genre gets its name from. So let's dive in, see what Venom is bringing to the table. Okay. Yeah, very thrashy. We have that really quick tempo, the alternating bass and snare hits and the drums, and lots of tremolo picking.
Lay down your soul to the gods, rock and roll. So wild, nobody's wild. Give it in all that you got. Wild is alright, metal tonight. Faster than over the top. Open the door, enter hell's door. Black is the code for tonight. Atomic force, feel no remorse. Crank up the amps, now it's night. Black metal.
And even right here we can hear that there is a bit of a lo-fi production that would eventually become part of a very big movement in black metal.
Black metal. Lay down your soul to the gods, rock and roll. Metal tenfold through the deadly black hole. Riding hell stallions, bareback and free. Taking our chances with raw energy. Come ride the night with us, rock out and fight. United my legions we stand. Free blood and wild force, give up your souls. Live for the Christ and Satan's band.
Yeah, these guys are definitely bringing some energy. Yeah, I really like this section right here just because it opens up the sound a bit. It's mostly whatever symbol that drummer's using.
Black metal. Black metal. Black metal. Lay down your soul to the gods, rock and roll. Oh, black metal.
Yeah. Yeah, it kept up the energy, the intensity, even into the final moments when there was no instrument playing. So, yeah, I gotta give them props for that, man. They definitely know how to put on a show, even just sonically. I'm sure watching that live is just bonkers crazy. Um, so yeah, let's dig into this music, and then we're gonna talk about the lyrics, which, from what I understand, are quite important in differentiating this from similar sounding genres, especially of the time. So Let's see. Musically, I kind of broke it down earlier. It's very thrashy. We have a lot of tremolo picking, typically writing a root note, it sounded like, before moving into sort of like end of bar riffs, almost like a drum fill in guitar form, where you play something rather standard and simple for 3 bars, and then in the fourth bar, or maybe the last 2 beats of the fourth bar, you play your end of the pattern riff, right? And um, so we have this idea in the guitars, possibly the bass. I didn't really pick up on much bass. I don't know. Let's see. If this is copying sort of the thrashy template, then the bass is going to be doing pretty much exactly what the guitars are doing, which means that they're just going to be hidden inside of that. So I'm going to assume there is a bass and it's just kind of being covered up by playing the same thing the guitars do. And it's kind of fitting into that sound that they have there. The drums are doing an alternating snare and bass kick for a lot of this. There's a couple of drum fills, but the only huge change that happened in the drums is changing cymbals, which I actually thought was one of the best parts of the track during the chorus. The second half of the chorus, I think it happened twice. I don't know if it was in every chorus. But switched from more of a muted cymbal to more of a wider cymbal. And I'm not sure if that was a production thing because it did feel like it had more volume, but it also could have just been a different cymbal. Now, they have different properties, different timbres. Maybe a volume difference is part of it. Maybe, it's a bigger cymbal, so has more volume to it. Um, but yeah, so that part I really enjoyed because it opens up the song uh, production wise in the sound sphere. And I'm going to get onto that in a second. Now, vocally, I think this is interesting because it's distorted cleans. Kind of growly in some places. We got a bit of an animalistic growling thing there at the end, but very understandable, at least to me. And clean vocals, just not what I was expecting. I don't have a lot of reference points for harsh vocals a long time ago. I didn't get into harsh vocals until more modern bands in the mid 2000s, maybe. So that is kind of like my personal reference point for harsh vocals. And as I've listened to more and more bands you guys have introduced me to, especially older bands, I've come to realize that harsh vocals have been in music before the 2000s. I still don't really have a timeline of it. So I'm not sure if harsh vocals were being utilized in music yet. This would have been 82. So, well, early 80s. Earlier in the video, I mentioned mid to late 80s for this period of time we were going to be looking at. This is actually earlier than that. This is earlier than I thought. But yeah, I don't know if harsh vocals were around at the time. I don't know how popular they were. Definitely not in the larger mainstream sphere, but even within the metal sphere, who was using harsh vocals at the time? Who was applying extreme distortion to their vocals? Because this is a distorted clean. We haven't gone into growls or fries really yet, and distorted cleans have been in music a long time. I mean, even jazz with Louis Armstrong, he had a very distorted kind of a gritty kind of clean. So, yeah, nothing really new there, but I am curious because I do know black metal ends up developing a black metal scream, a black metal harsh. It's a very distinctive style of harsh vocals. And obviously, at this point in the time, at least as far as the genre is going, the genre isn't around at the time. Obviously, this is, from what I understand, the inception of the style. But yeah, the very first track that would be black metal, as far as we would classify it today, doesn't have that vocal style. So one, I'm curious where it came from, and two, like I said, I am wondering if growls were around at the time and maybe they were merged into black metal later. But yeah, musically, it's rather simple. There's what, two riffs in here, maybe three riffs, and they're all kind of based around the same idea. There is uh, a nice melody line in the guitars in the bridge, I think it is, with a lot of movement to it. But otherwise, there is a lot of what I would probably guess is writing an open string and then playing a little riff at the end of it. A lot of the song isn't really designed to be technically impressive other than the speed. Again, I don't have a reference point for this technicality in rock and metal. I'm not sure how many bands were doing this. However, being that this is piggybacking off of the thrash scene, I'm going to say that this type of tremolo picking was at least somewhat common in the thrash scenes before this. So, yeah, definitely working within the technical aspect that we had seen prior, and just like thrash, also embodying more of a sonoristic style of writing where they go based off the rule of cool. Again, it's not designed to be more technical or more theoretical than anything else. It's designed to just sound cool. Does this riff sound cool? Does it feel meaty? Does it give me energy? Does it make me want to headbang or whatever? If yes, we're throwing it in there. That's the riff for the song. That's what sonorism is all about. It's about writing music based on feel. And this song definitely embodies that style of composition. Everything in it is about how it feels. There isn't anything in here that's really strong on a theoretical level. Um, but yeah, so far, everything's just been thrash. The vocals, I would say, I don't know actually. I don't know what thrash vocals are. Are they like this? Just that kind of gritty clean? The guitar work, the bass work, the drum work, it's all very thrash. So, why is this black metal? Well, first of all, I do want to direct your attention to the production. I'm not sure if this was a production thing because it's an older track, or if it was a intentional production thing. They went a bit lo-fi than the other bands were doing at the time because they specifically enjoyed it. I was actually really concerned with the opening intro because it sounded like a garbage disposal, and I've heard some really lo-fi black metal, newer lo-fi black metal, really, aiming for that sound, that distinct sound. And I thought that was the guitar work, and that was the song we were going to be working with, and I could barely make out notes. It was just basically the crackling distortion above the guitar timbre. Now, after hearing the guitars coming in and the song actually starting after that intro, I'm not sure what that sound was. But being able to listen to this retrospectively and knowing what it's inspired and the sort of lengths that black metal kind of goes to as far as the lo-fi aesthetic, yeah, it gave me a bit of a fright that was going to be the guitar sound, that I wasn't going to be able to understand anything that was happening musically. But even aside from that, we look at the rest, and like I said, I don't know if it was intentional or if it was a product of the times, but there is sort of an anemic element to this sound. It doesn't feel very full at all. It feels just kind of thin, right? It really isn't until the second half of the chorus, when the drummer shifts to the louder, wider cymbal, that the sound fills up a little bit. And I had mentioned during the reaction that was my favorite part of the song, just because it allows the song to have a bit of weight and punch to it that the rest of it is missing. It feels like it's only utilizing half of the amount of space it can be. And of course, I believe this is going to eventually become a part of the black metal sound. But here, like I said, I am curious if it was intentional or not, if people have been copying that style just because of technical limitations at the time, or maybe inexperience. I don't know who produced it. Well, it looks like Venom produced this with Keith Nickel. I don't know who Keith Nickel is, so I don't know how experienced he was. And this is the first time I'm hearing of Venom, so I don't know where they sit in the grander scheme of things. Were they a super well known group? Was this their first album? That kind of stuff. I don't know what kind of experience or weight the band held, so I can only approach it based on my own biases and what I'm hearing. But yeah, it is a very anemic sound from beginning to end. It never feels quite full. And of course, this would go on to sort of define a lot of black metal, at least the lo-fi subgenre of the subgenre black metal. And to me, at least, that is a defining aspect of it. When I compare this to something like Metallica's debut album, which I believe is also thrash, if not, it's, at least to me, how I define thrash, it's very close to it. The production on it is not necessarily cleaner, but wider. It's a fuller sound. So it makes me think that this was an intentional sort of narrowing out of the feel of it. So that's the first thing that to me takes the idea of thrash, but it's kind of piggybacking off of and taking it to a new direction, which would, of course, eventually become what we call black metal. The second thing, and what I've had some people explain to me before I've come into this week, is right there on the cover of the album cover. At least I think this is the album cover. Let me bring this guy back up. In league with Satan, pentagram, all that. And of course, the lyrics talk about bowing down to the gods of metal, or laying your soul down to the gods of metal, or something like that. Bringing in Satanistic iconography and lyrics, basically just bringing in this occult Satan angle, at least from what I understand, is a huge part of this early black metal movement. So that and the lower fidelity in the production are the two things that kind of stand out here and help me understand this to be the birth of black metal and how it's distancing itself from the thrash it's kind of piggybacking off of. Now, I know this analysis section was kind of more about the genre itself. I don't think I really went too much into the music, but again, like I said, there really isn't a lot there to dig into. It really is simple for the sake of simplicity, and it gets a lot of work out of the simplicity. There's not necessarily more depth, but there's uh, more atmosphere, I think would be the best way of saying it. If they made it more complex, it would not have the same feeling that it does. It has its energy, its intensity, that raw power underneath that works so well with the lyrical content of what he says, like, black is the night, metal we fight, power amp set to explode. Like, the lyrics themselves, the words being utilized are explosive, descriptive, bombastic words. Energy screams, magic and dreams. Satan records their first note. It's this. It's a very kinetic type of language, right? Speaking about power and movement and just a drive, sort of. And the music works so well for that. I don't think adding complexity would have done anything to amplify what they're already getting out of the simple stuff they're doing. And like I said, it works on a sonoristic level anyways. They're not going to be theoretically technical. They just want it to sound energetic, and they do a fantastic job of doing that and allowing the music to get out of the way for the lyrics. I noticed there isn't even a guitar solo in here, which to me, an 80s metal track without a guitar solo just sounds completely backwards. Like, that's kind of what I associate with 80s metal is guitar solos, and there isn't one, and I think it's for that specific reason. One of the huge differentiations between this and thrash is the lyrical content, so it makes sense that the lyrics are held on a higher pedestal than the music itself. The music is there to provide the energy and the atmosphere that the lyrics are speaking about. And that's what I mean when I say that they get a lot of impact out of the simplicity. They're really getting as much as they can while utilizing as much as they can as far as minimalism goes. It's about balancing, getting as much impact as you need for the song without using more resources than you have to. Uh, Man, what is that called? Frugality? Musical frugality? Is that a phrase? Has that been coined before? If not, I think I'm going to coin it. Getting as much as you need without going over. Yeah, I like that idea. It's not minimalism, but it's definitely sort of musical budgeting. And yeah, that's exactly what's going on here. And they did a phenomenal job at it. Like I said, the song feels exactly as I expect it should, given what the lyrics are doing, both what they're talking about and the words that have been selected for it. All right, so those are my thoughts. We got Venom's Black Metal. I am interested in moving on through this week and seeing, the other ways that the genre has originated. This, from what I understand, like I mentioned, is the point. This genre got its name from this song. This was the major point when we started to see the birth of black metal. And I believe moving into the week, we're going to see how this song might have influenced other bands to really begin to hone in and iterate on this sound and slowly adapt it. We're not going to be moving into second wave black metal, which is the 90s black metal. Though I do think we have one song that comes from early 92, but I think there's a technicality there because the band didn't hear about the black metal movement until we were almost into the second wave, so they were still influenced by the first wave. I don't know. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, like I said, I'm excited to see. I think this is one of my favorite parts about doing this channel is not just learning about all this music, but also kind of getting a history lesson on it. You know, I've listened to a lot of the modern stuff that we've done so far. When we checked out, death metal, when we checked out black metal, we've checked out all these genres. A lot of people tell me, these are really good examples, but, you're missing the origins. You're missing the bands that defined it. Well, now I'm forcing it. We're checking out the origins. And this is something I would like to do with all the genres eventually and kind of give myself a history lesson of where things came from and see how we went from the origins to where we're at now. All right. Well, you guys can start heading to the comment section if you'd like. Let me know if you enjoyed this or not, if there's anything you'd like to point out. Especially just regarding black metal in general. I did have some questions about Venom and kind of their popularity and their placement in thrash, possibly. But also, if you have anything to add about the conversation of black metal in general, I'm always welcome to hear and listen. Like I said, I want to learn as well. When you're done commenting, you can head up to the description box, and there's a link for Linktree. Take you to this menu right here. You can buy some merch, join the Patreon, which allows you to vote on future themes and songs. You can you can follow me on Twitter, hit me up on Discord, email me. I don't know, there's lots of stuff in there. Go check it out. Above the description box, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. We got one more video coming out in about 6 minutes. It's going to be our special selection for today. Funny enough, it's a black metal song. It's a 20-minute epic. So I swear I did not time this. It just happens to be the next one. I promise. I guarantee. It just happens to fall on a good week for it. Otherwise, I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC. We'll be looking at some more black metal origins, looking at some black metal tracks from the 80s. And we'll do another special selection as we usually do. All right, until next time, remember to be critical but not cynical of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos. And I just want to let everybody know that yes, the white balance was quite a bit warm. I didn't catch it until halfway through the video, and I didn't want to redo the reaction. So you get to look at a very orangey red Bryan. I appreciate it if nobody leaves any comments about my white palettes being terrible for this video.